everyone, welcome to the third episode of today, and I'm doing them every day at what was it? I'm trying to think now. 1:30 and then 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. UK time, and if you are from US, you have the morning slot which starts at 8:30, 10:30 and 12:30. So I'm just basically catching up. I started quite late in the month with this World Watercolour Month, so that's what it is. So I have been totally inspired by the Iridescent Scarab Red watercolor on the previous page that you can see, and it totally gave me a craving for Napthamide Maroon. It's a color that I used to be obsessed with. When I say used to be, it's not that I am over it in any way. I absolutely love it as well now, just as much. However, I used it very frequently at one point a couple of months ago and kind of stopped, went off it. But it's such a gorgeous color. The depth it has and the variety it has, going from the lightest value to the darkest value, is a very rare kind of experience that you can get from a watercolor. Not every watercolor looks great at such a variety of color. So I mentioned this before, that the middle range is not my favorite, but I do like the lightest and the darkest. So that's what you will see I will play with in this illustration. So to begin with, again, I'm just doodling a flower. Going for fairly simple flower, just rounded center, rounded petals. Can't go wrong with it. It's basically 4 on top and 4 underneath, so it has a layered effect. Very easy to doodle, very easy to draw, and that's what I'm doing. I'm also really enjoying these little kind of berries almost flowers, and I think subconsciously I'm somehow inspired by the fennel that's blossoming right now in my kitchen garden. I just love the structure of it, so gorgeous, and in nature there are quite a few things that have these kind of seeds displayed in such a beautiful way, and I think that probably is where it's coming from, this doodle here. And leaves, I went for bigger and kind of wider leaves to fit the rounder petals on the flower, and then a few smaller leaves as well, just to break it down, and just thinking of the composition a little bit. Wherever I feel that I want to fill the space, that's where I'm adding a few more leaves and just keeping the variety of larger and smaller, and that is it really. And I think the key that I have realized throughout this journey so far is to have simplicity. The simpler the initial illustration is, but balanced, then that kind of will just work perfectly. Okay, so here comes in the Napthamide Maroon. I mixed up a very creamy, very thick mixture, which means it will have a lot of pigment and be quite dark. So what I'm doing there is I'm placing it at the tip of the petal towards the center of the flower, so that I have the darkest area there, and then the lightest will be towards the edge of the petal. So the way I like using or creating this wide range of color is, when it's at its thickest, I then wash the brush and with clean water just touch and wet the certain part of the petal, and then, as you can see there, gently guide the thicker mixture into it. So I kind of charge it into it, and what happens is it flows and tints the water slightly. It's a very strong and very kind of how should I say, dominant color in the sense of its depth. So therefore it will tint it quite a bit. So you need to make sure you don't add too much water, because the color will just quickly move, flow into that water, and then the darkest part won't be dark anymore because it will just quickly flow, and the lightest part won't be as light. So you kind of very quickly can get to a middle range. The middle range is what I'm least keen in this color, so I prefer the darkest and the lightest, and that's the way to do it. So with great control and enough moisture in the brush but not too much, that's how you achieve this look with just one color. So if you actually look at it, you might think that a couple of different colors have been used here, something very dark and a very light one, but in fact it's the same color, just the mixing of the pigment and water, so the different ratios of it. So besides the flower, I also wanted to create a repetition of this color, and I think it really helps to balance the illustration. So what I'm doing there is repeating this color and just kind of sprinkling it a little bit onto those doodly flowers there, and you can think of them as berries, flowers, whatever you want. They really are open to imagination, and it's just nice to take the color that you're working with on the main flower throughout your composition. I find that it really makes the eye go from the main flower to those little bits, because they're also interesting. So for the green, I decided to go back to the QoR cobalt, the green gold, and it's more of a muted color compared to the Daniel Smith gold green, which is more juicy and greener. So this one works really well with these kind of darker reds and browns and all that kind of color palette. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm also leaving large highlights, which I really like, on the leaves, and then what I do is on one part of the leaf I add like a stronger mix, and then again with a clean wet brush I just touch the leaf and then charge the rest of that color in, so you can see it's a very smooth blend, and that way has a nice ombre kind of effect, doesn't look flat. I found that this is my preferred way for leaves. I can otherwise work them over very very easily if I just keep on kind of trying to do more to them. So I feel that this is the way to do for me, just keeping it nice and easy and less fussing about. So then I'm going to the Derwent Graphitint just for that extra bit of deepening and depth right in the corners. I do like that look there. I didn't want to use any other watercolors, and adding a bit of a graphitint or a watercolor pencil kind of really helps, and it's a great combo. So I am using the Meadow color, which is a very frequent color that I use from the Graphitint pencil set that I have. I'll try to link it up here so that you can have a look at the swatches, and that makes me quite happy actually, this composition and the colors. There is this element of simplicity There is enough detail to be interesting enough, but it's just not overworked. It's light, and it almost feels like if the wind would hit those flowers, they could really move and, you know, be light and kind of pretty. So at this point I'm pretty much done. I just realized at that stage of the illustration that something was missing in the center of the flower, but I didn't want to color it in with something quite strong. I wanted the white to still come through, and so what I decided to do is use that iridescent scarab red that I used in the previous illustration and repeat it throughout here as well. So I just added a little bit on the corner of the center of the flower, and I also attached a little bit of it on top of those very dark Napthamide maroon area of the petal, as well as just touching with the tip of the brush and adding it onto those, there we go, onto these little berries. And that actually came out so pretty. You will see it in a minute, actually not in a minute, in a few seconds you'll see it as a close-up, and the beautiful iridescence. I love it over the leaves as well. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.